It's time!
Blackrock, Blackrock, Blackrock. The world's most dominant financial company is coming for crypto. Their Spot Bitcoin ETF is trending to get approval. Reports from the company say Bitcoin is the most dominant asset in an investment portfolio, and they just may be diving into other crypto assets. So don't fear the markets in the current state, aka don't fear the Reaper, because it's time for Chico Crypto. If you've been hiding under a rock for most of this year, you wouldn't have heard the news. But the world's largest asset manager has filed for a Spot Bitcoin ETF, and their ETF applications to the SEC have a 99.8% approval rate. In their history, only one ETF has ever been rejected by the SEC, and 575 have been approved. The likelihood of an approval based on these stats are really good, although last month there were rumors of a rejection spreading in the news airwaves as the SEC said the application was inadequate. Although this was because they didn't list a custodian in their application. Their application has been fixed. Coinbase is the custodian for Blackrock, and the application is refiled, and the SEC has accepted their application. And regarding the recent developments, Bloomberg Financial and ETF analysis James Seifert and Eric Balchunas have increased their odds of an approval up to 65%. But personally, due to BlackRock's ties to the government, I would put the odds of an approval up to 90%. If you didn't know, Brian Deese is a former BlackRock executive lead. He was head of sustainable investing from 2017 to 2020. Well, Deese is now Joe Biden's director of the National Economic Council, the top economic advisor to the White House. Wally Adeyemo was a BlackRock senior advisor from 2017 to 2020 as well. Wally is now Joe Biden's Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, the number 2 position of the Treasury Department. Finally, Eric Van Nostrand, BlackRock executive lead and managing director for multi-asset strategies at BlackRock from 2016 to today, is now a part of Joe Biden's Treasury Department. He's senior advisor on economic issues. BlackRock and Joe Biden's economic team are highly connected, and approval for their ETF is very, very likely, in my opinion, due to this. Then, if you didn't know, BlackRock put out a report last year in 2022 on Bitcoin. As we can see, all of the authors are of BlackRock Inc. And on page 10, due to their analysis, they say this. Exhibit 4 presents the results, starting with a 60-40 equity bond portfolio, which is produced with a risk aversion of Y equals 1.50. The optimal BTC allocation is a large 84.9%. The remainder of the portfolio, 15.1%, is split 60-40 between equities and bonds. Although BTC has an extremely large volatility of 1.322, the pronounced positive skewness leads to large allocations and dominates in the utility function. BlackRock is recommending a portfolio being nearly 85% Bitcoin for the best returns. But what many people don't realize or know is BlackRock is getting into the Bitcoin mining game and has been since 2021. As we can see from this 2021 SEC document, Core Scientific, a North American Bitcoin miner, and Power Digital Infrastructure Acquisition Corp., XPDI, merged so Core could list on NASDAQ. From the filing, XPDI believes that Core Scientific presents an opportunity to invest in a leader in multiple XPDI target industry sectors of blockchain and frontier technology infrastructure. XPDI is a special purpose acquisition company with a blockchain infrastructure focus supported by BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager and the anchor investor in XPDI. By default, through the merger, BlackRock became the largest shareholder in Core Scientific. and they doubled down on Core Scientific earlier this year, when BlackRock was part of a $500 million funding round for the company, increasing their shares in the Bitcoin mining company. BlackRock is deep into Bitcoin, but what about those altcoins? Well, before we get into that, it's time for a quick mention about the sponsor of this video, Hydranet. And like always, the full details of our agreement can be found in the description. Hydranet is building the first Layer 3 DEX, bringing Bitcoin to DeFi and unlocking other tokens and blockchains, offering a centralized exchange experience but with DeFi infrastructure, making cross-chain real asset swaps without the need to bridge or wrap assets, providing secure transactions, never giving up custody of assets while also maintaining complete privacy. The Hydranet DEX has three main parts. First, the user-friendly multi-currency light wallet, where all swapping happens, accessible only to you. Second, the order book DEX, offering that centralized exchange-like experience, but in an entirely trustless manner. And third, Simple Swap, designed for those fast and easy one-click trades. Hydranet is powered by their HDN token, which is available through the top 15 exchanges, including Whitebit, Uniswap on Arbitrum, and of course the Hydranet DEX. Best of all, Hydranet is a community-based DAO-controlled project with an organic following, and Hydranet is led by a team composed primarily of long-standing community members who are also ready to connect and share more about Hydranet with you. So make sure to visit their website, join the community Discord and Telegram to learn more. All links for Hydranet can be found in the description. Now back to those altcoins BlackRock may be diving deep into. Now BlackRock has only named one altcoin by name that they are following the progress of, and that is Energy Web. They announced this when they announced their BlackRock Bitcoin Private Trust. They said BlackRock is encouraged that organizations such as RMI and Energy Web are developing programs to bring greater transparency to sustainable energy usage in Bitcoin mining, and we will follow progress around those initiatives. I've talked about this before, so I don't want to dive any deeper, but it's obvious BlackRock is a fan of EWT. But below in the article, BlackRock says this: BlackRock recently announced a partnership with Coinbase that will provide common clients of Aladdin and Coinbase access to digital asset trading lifecycle through connectivity between Coinbase and the Aladdin platform, starting with Bitcoin. Their Coinbase partnership and starting with Bitcoin is key. So what types of assets could be after Bitcoin? Well, Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, recently said this about the altcoins they may be looking at.
This is one of the reasons why I'm focusing on the whole idea of blockchain for securities. I look forward to the day when we could tokenize stocks and bonds, that every stock and every bond we could identify immediately who is the beneficial owner, and this is why we're working on it, and every beneficial owner from an individual to an institution have the ability to vote, to democratize every single vote. And that's where we want to take this, and we're leading that effort.
They want to tokenize securities. Now remember, BlackRock has a partnership with Coinbase. Coinbase just launched Base Chain, and when they launched this in February, I showed that the chain was going to be for tokenized securities, and BlackRock was likely involved. The altcoins involved with the tokenizing of securities? Ethereum, of course, since Base Chain is a layer 2 for Ethereum, but also Chainlink. In the video, I showed why. And Gnosis Chain, where I dove deep also into why. If you want to watch the full video, I have linked it down in the description. Well, viewers, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on my socials, at Chico Crypto and at Leaks Blockchain on X, Chico Crypto on Instagram, and of course, join the chat on Telegram, t.me/Chico Crypto. Cheers, viewers. I'll see you next time.
The most trustless name in news.